So the housing crisis it's getting bigger. When I mean the housing crisis, is that the affordability of housing, especially for people that are starting fresh, starting their work life, starting a family, need a new house. Even if they have a job, and you imagine like a couple, for example, that want to move together and both have a job, and still they find it very hard to find a house. Or even if it's not a family, just single people, the houses that are available are often, for example, in the case of Portugal, where the minimum wage is about 800, it's around 800 euros. And if you live in a city, that whole salary is not enough to pay. It's not enough to pay accommodation. Of course, it depends on the area. You have a lot of areas in, for example, in Lisbon and Porto that are they are under the pressure of tourism. So there are areas that are more exposed to the global market, to the people with more money, and so the poor people that used to live there, they die or they sell, so they slowly move away from the area, and the area gets very, very expensive. So normal people, indigenous people, do not have the money to afford. I gave the example of the minimum salary because a lot of people in Portugal, I don't have the figures in memory, but it's a huge percentage of the working force earns this salary in Portugal. The average salary is not much bigger, and it's maybe you have to pay, if you need a house for a family. Let's put this a family of 4, 2 adults and two kids. I mean, you need at least in a city, you need at least 600 to 1,000 euros for rent. Of course, you have exceptions. You have old contracts where people have their rents stabilized, but I'm talking about new rents, the new trend on the rents. And then when you have this, when you have increasing costs in healthcare, increasing costs, although we have public healthcare, they have been degrading it, so they transfer the clients to the private healthcare. Same goes with education, transportation, whatever. Living costs rising. For example, how does a person earning 800 euros, 1,000 euros lives, right? Because it's supposed to be in this kind of society, it's supposed for you to study, to find a job, and with that job, to make your life, right? Wrong. It's mathematically impossible in many cases, and that's why also it's like, I think it's like 60% or 40% of the young graduates from university degrees in Portugal, they move away. Simply as that. But the people that stay and live on those wages, how do they manage? And the thing is that they don't. If you go to look into many cases, there are always exceptions. You have a lot of people that they have like family have property that they use. A lot of young people that still live with their parents. They move very late. And a lot of people that just has to live in shitty places. And when you have a low-paying job, you can hardly pay a rent. Sometimes some of these people even live on the street. That's also another figure I saw the other day. Increasing number of people that have jobs and live on the streets because they cannot afford housing. So when you have people in these conditions, even if they can afford housing, the housing tax it's a big tax on their budget, so they have little left for anything else. So they live paycheck to paycheck, to credit, and it's always precarious, it's always very hard, it's always a huge struggle. If you put yourself in the shoes of such people, it's easy to imagine how their attention span or attention for much of the information, valuable information, it's not there. The predisposition to understand, to learn new things, it simply is not there. Because it's not there because it's impossible. All the energy is drained to this paying bills system. And another phenomenon is that this societies like the Portuguese society, there's a lot of corruption, and a lot of small corruption, because people don't like corruption generally, because they see the huge cases of corruption in the government, which always involve a lot of money, millions and big figures. And they, of course, they don't like that. They want politicians that they elect to behave and do their jobs. But if they have a chance to avoid paying taxes, if they have a chance to maybe not paying certain licenses, of dodging the system to pay less, they do it. If they have the opportunity to make a sketchy business where they can earn some profits, but it's not legal, but it's hard to be discovered, they will do it. They will get extra income from that. Of course, nowadays we have this, in some cases we have this new income like digital work, but that's really not, YouTubers and stuff. You have the digital nomads, but they work for companies, right? And so I'm starting all this to go to the political discourse, and again to the right-wing populism topic, because this is fertile ground for this kind of discourse from the right wing. Because when you're rushing every day to make ends meet, right? I have to cut my mustache. It's itching on my nose. When you have to rush every day, and years go by, and you keep doing this rhythm, the only time you have to relax is just to have a few beers, go out with some friends or something. But even that time becomes smaller and smaller. Your predisposition to new ideas and to learn new things and to understand the most complex arguments becomes narrow. This is my belief, right? This is not something I'm determining to be the ultimate truth. This is my belief, because I have a salary job too. I work shifts, and but I've had much tougher jobs before, and I knew how I felt back then. Like, you have no time to think, and you become, and as the years go by and you don't do the things you like because you always have to be chasing priorities, you become a harsher person and a bitter person, and with no patience for big talk, only patience for the kind of talk that the right-wing populist does, pub talk, coffee break talk, very simplistic arguments and very aggressive arguments, the thirst for revenge. These guys are messing up this country, someone needs to clean this up, this kind of arguments. And so it is my belief, I make the point that right-wing populist thrives because we have a predator neoliberal system which shrinks without necessity. We don't have the necessity for work more and more hours. The productive capacity of societies is bigger and bigger. The distribution of the cake, it's where the flaws are. You might argue that no, I know a lot of people that they get this pension because they're poor, and because they get this pension they don't want to work. It is true, you have such people. But if you do your figures well, if you do your accounting, you see that the money spent on these people is a grain of sand on the beach compared to the millions that are harvested from the economy by the richer. It's no comparison in size. And I really don't blame a lot of these people that lose motivation to work, because like you said, maybe they have greater motivation for their own lives. You can blame them of having no ambition, but still, I think if your ambition is just staying on the hamster wheel, that's not much of an ambition too, right? So, and if you don't see any solution, maybe you just drop the towel and try to just live how you can. But again, these are not a problem. And I don't mind if the wealth distribution is correct. I don't mind sharing with this kind of people. And I think if the society becomes more fair, there will be less and less of these people. If you have a fair life where you can have a fair amount of time to do the things that you like and to dedicate to your job, and don't tell me don't come with the argument that if people have to find a job and do the work that they love, then it doesn't become work anymore. It's becomes joy. That's bullshit. Utter bullshit. Even doing the things I love, if I have to do them too much, I'll get tired of them, right? You have only very, very, very few exceptions, which, you have exceptions in every rule, so this doesn't make the... So I think the more you strangle the lower classes in society, the more fertile ground you will have to right-wing populist arguments. Of course, the downside of this is that, it's very obvious what the downsides are, but the thing is that the people that then choose to go along with this kind of conversation and with this kind of rhetoric, they don't realize that they are playing against themselves. That's what worries me the most. you need to have your basic necessities assured. This includes housing, of course, which nowadays seems like a luxury if you have your own house. You need to have your basic needs assured, completely assured, and some free time in order to be a more thoughtful person. This is my true belief. And that's what I have to say before going to hit the bed. I hope I see you on the next one.